Hold on. Okay, guys. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome in Life in the Red podcast. I'm Chris. There's Steve. There's Parker. It is 11:42 a.m. on Friday, April 22nd. We were going to start this thing at 11:15. Then we talked each other's ears off for 25 minutes. So we babbled for 25 minutes, but we're going to get going now. We'll make this a quick one for you on your Friday. Talk a little transfer portal, football and basketball. We'll talk a little baseball, and we'll get you out of here. Look, let's get right into it, right? The news of the week, I guess, in football, Casey Rogers, a surprising entrant into the portal as it careens toward 4,000 players, as we'll talk about. Casey Rogers into the portal, already gotten some kind of eyebrow-raising offers, I guess you would say. And Nebraska also looking to the portal as it taketh away. Nebraska looking for the portal to giveth to try to replace Casey Rogers and build up some depth in that defensive line.
Yeah, I think, it obviously was a surprise on Wednesday. Was that when Casey Rogers went into the portal?
Let me. Sorry, I should have posed this earlier. Give me a 1 to 10. How surprising is it that Casey Rogers went to the portal?
This was either Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to say this was Wednesday. Actually, I think it was Wednesday.
It was either Monday or Tuesday. I believe
it was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Surprise, high. So 10, scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to say 9.5 for me. 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was an 8. For me, I spent just like background here. I mean, I spent a couple of hours with Casey Rogers and wrote about it at a Lincoln Stars game. It was 3 weeks ago plus. It was right at the beginning of April, so I guess right about 3 weeks ago. And it didn't come up at all. It was interesting spending time with him in that sort of, relaxed setting away from football. I mean, I wrote in the story that seemed every bit as sort of like at home around the Stars as he would in the football facility. And we actually talked some about how, he said there's only 3 scholarship guys left from his class. Now that's understandable on one hand because he's going into his 5th year in college. I mean, guys transfer, especially he was in that transition class, the first one from Scott Frost in 2018, but it's just him, Braxton Clark, and Caleb Tanner left. So maybe there were some slight tea leaves or something, but no, I was really surprised. I mean, he didn't practice this spring because of a knee injury, re-injury that he suffered against Iowa right at the end of the season. But, a lot of times guys transfer because they don't like where they're at on the depth chart, and that wouldn't have been the case for Casey Rogers because he would have probably slotted right back into a major role when he got healthy alongside Ty Robinson for this fall. So, yeah, I think it was surprising all around.
Yeah, he is graduating in May. I'm trying to just give the basic details for people. He's a junior, will graduate in May, has a starting job all but locked up. I mean, he's in a position that's very thin. It is a very interesting. I find it to be a very interesting story because you just wonder why, and that's the question you won't probably know. You may never know it actually, but why? Yeah, why? There could be a variety of reasons. I mean, a long list of reasons.
There could be a variety of reasons. One of the things that we've seen, and I don't know, as I said, I spent some time with Casey recently. So I should say up front, I don't know that this is a reason. I think one thing simple that we've seen, and we've talked about this, is that there is the NIL landscape provides some interesting wrinkles as it gets going. And a lot of times, like someone used the analogy to me recently about like cell phone subscribers, right? Like the new customer always gets the better deal than the existing customer. And that's kind of like NIL has that wrinkle to it to some degree where like the market keeps getting reset and reset and reset and the price keeps going up. But the guys right now who are getting the most money and the best deals by like orders of magnitude are transfers and 2023 recruits. blue chip 2023 recruits and coveted transfers. And guys who are on rosters and have been on rosters are getting grandfathered into this. And quite frankly, I mean, this is an odd way to talk in college athletics, but it's just the way it is now. They don't have the only way to create leverage for yourself is to be in the portal. If you're good, now you can go in the portal and get lost. But Casey Rogers, regardless of whether he did this to try to command more NIL money or something else or a little bit of a lot of things or whatever, like we saw very quickly with USC and Washington and Arkansas all offering him within about 24 hours, he's going to be in demand and he's going to have leverage in terms of what his next move is that frankly he probably didn't have as just an existing player on Nebraska.
You know what? That might be the why. We know this. Everybody knows this, but it's worth mentioning in this conversation. If you're a 6'4", 6'5", 290-pound lineman who's athletic, you're going to be he's in high demand. Like you said, USC, Arkansas, Washington out of the gate offering. I mean, and then people said to me, it's like, God, are you surprised he's getting offers? Like, no, because that's a premium position.
Yeah.
And he has good film. So really, yeah, it could be that. You laid that out pretty well. Baz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Parker nailed it. Like there's a reason, there's probably several reasons he did this, and the stuff Parker laid out is probably a big part of it. You're in your 5th year of college, like he probably doesn't feel like he has a lot left to prove. He's proven he could play at this level. Why not try and build some leverage for yourself? He sit there and watched Nebraska throw the kitchen sink at O'Shawn Mathis, as far as NIL and his opportunities and things like that. And he might be saying, well, hey, what about me? Where's that kind of stuff for me? And I'm not saying he's going to get like an O'Shawn Mathis type of deal just by going to the portal. But he's probably going to be able to get a little more than he would if he would have stayed at Nebraska, even though he had guaranteed playing time. And, your point's simple. He's getting big time offers right out of the gate. It's like he's going to be going to, Northeastern Tech State, A&M, like he's going to go someplace legit, probably play power conference football, play in the SEC. You can play in the Pac-12. Like he could play at a lot of different places. So yeah, from that standpoint of it, it makes sense. But yeah, like it's still a massive surprise, I think, just from a local standpoint, because that was a guy that was going to play a lot, no matter where they put him on the defensive line.
Yeah, it could be something these things with kids or with anybody, not just young men. There could be personal reasons, maybe just wants a change. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah. You're talking about a guy that played lacrosse in Syracuse, New York, and came to Nebraska. Like he's clearly not afraid of moving around and trying something different. So
what's interesting though, what people are confused by, and I understand this, usually players transfer to places to get to a situation that he's in Nebraska, right? I mean, that's why it was eyebrow raising to me, because usually that's what you're looking for. Right. He had it. Now there's the other part of the conversation. Now this is where, and we don't need to get into an intense conversation, because I find that these types of thoughts in this world now often elicit very negative, just really emotional reaction. It's interesting to me too, that there's not a component of, I'm going to be loyal to my teammates. I mean, we're in a bind at Nebraska right now, guys. We don't have enough D linemen. Everybody knows it. We're not well stocked at position. And I wondered how much of that entered into the conversation. Like I said, that seems like something that elicits very negative reactions nowadays. But it's still interesting to me. And if I were to talk to Casey, I'd ask him, was that part of your decision-making process, just knowing that you're leaving behind some guys that are in a rough spot now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. And I agree with you. There's a lot of, that's a very easy, you're right. It engenders a lot of strong reactions. I think the way that athletics in general have gone, that, if you're in the NFL and you have you're not looked down upon for looking after yourself, right? Contract situation, going wherever will get you the most money, whatever's best for you and your family. And that has really trickled down into amateur athletics. I mean, it's hardly even just the college level at this point. I mean, kids transfer high schools, it's like, it's always about it's become, it seems to me more and more about looking after yourself. And that's, I mean, I don't know. We, like you say, we don't need to have a long conversation about
No,
good,
it's
bad,
not
or
worth
otherwise. On
it. It
that.
never goes anywhere.
The
That's
thing-
what I have found.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting, and we're starting to see this often now with the portal and the NIL era, is that most kids, when they go into portal, that's it with the school they're leaving. Sometimes the biggest exceptions to that, where you see kids come back to their original school, tends to be during coaching changes, where like if there's not a coach at your school, it's very understandable for an incoming staff that the guys on the roster might enter the portal, see what their options are,
Yeah.
and then maybe come back and play for the next coach. That's obviously not the situation here. Tony Tuioti left, but most of the defensive staff is still in Lincoln. But one of the issues is Nebraska, I'm sure, I know this, they did not want Casey Rogers to leave. They wanted to find a way, and they tried to, make it work, and he decided to enter his name in the portal anyways. Now Nebraska's in a little bit of a bind if you want to look at it from the coaching staff standpoint. As much as they would probably like Casey Rogers to play for them this fall, you also can't set a precedent necessarily where anybody on the team just feels like they can enter the portal, try to drum up some leverage, and come back, right? Like you almost have to be.
I think now we had that conversation the other day, and I asked some other people about that, Parker, and they said, why not? Why can't we had that conversation? And I agreed with you, and I still tend to, but there is an element of why can't players do that?
Well, I mean, you would essentially be inviting anybody on the roster to, hey, you don't like what you're getting, just enter the portal and then we'll negotiate with you.
We'll test it, see what you can get, and maybe you don't get much, and then they're welcome to come back. Right?
What if, I mean, okay, and then it's like if you do get something, then now
You're gone.
yeah, or you got a match.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen. Like it's going to happen.
I think they would. Now, Parker, this is what I would suggest to you. I would think they would take Casey Rogers back.
Oh, I think they will too. I think they will.
If he
I think they
wanted
would
to.
too. Yeah.
If that's where it comes down to, where he tests it, doesn't get what he wanted, and says, hey, I'm willing to come back, but we would need to work out a deal. I don't know. I sort of agree with you that you don't want to get in that habit, but I'm open to, I'm still kind of like, well, why can't that be a common practice?
Well, I think to be clear, I think they would take him back. I mean, I think if this goes a couple weeks and maybe we'll talk about another visitor they have coming this weekend. Maybe they add one guy. I mean, they were going to try to add multiple to the defensive line even before Casey Rogers left. So yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, they would take him back, and they probably, NIL wise or whatever, there's probably more out there for Casey Rogers, whether it's here or somewhere else. But they're in a tricky spot. It's not like they can talk about this stuff publicly anyways, but they're in a tricky spot because they have to I think they feel like they have to posture as if it doesn't matter who you are. If you enter the portal, we're considering you gone.
Yeah.
And then try to walk the line of like, well, is this someone who we feel strong about taking back? I mean, Feldarius Payne went in the portal and they got him back.
Right.
Then spring ball started, he went in the portal again.
Right.
So
I know. I just think I can see a path to where it could be fluid for just about anybody. Now it'd take a lot. Now that it seems like it would take a lot of, it might take man hours to deal with that. Just pure, it's a lot for a head coach to deal with. Like I'd say that would be a headache if you approached it that way.
If Casey Rogers went in the portal, looked around, collected the offers that NIL collectives out there were talking to him about, brought them back to Nebraska and said, can you match or beat this? And they did.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say it was twice or 4 times
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Wouldn't 12 more guys just do the exact same thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps. But now I'm asking you now, well, okay, what if 12 more guys do it? I mean, what is that an awful thing?
Well, no, not from the player perspective, but it puts your roster in a heck of a lot of limbo.
It does, but it's the time of year where you could do it. The roster's in complete limbo. I was just saying to somebody the other day on a radio show, I'm almost to the point now where I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to rosters in the off season. I just want to see
So
who
like
trots
August.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see who trots out there for game one. It's almost like a pickup basketball situation. Okay, there's the team. This is today. This is the team. I don't know next week if it's going to be this, but today, this is the team. And it feels like we're almost getting to that point.
Yeah, that's the direction it seems like it's going for sure.
There's going to be 4,000 players in the transfer portal in FBS. I mean,
Just in football.
Yeah, I don't know, Parker. I'm more open than ever to the idea of guys just go in, see what you can get. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. And then the head coach or the GM, AD, whatever, says, I know it's trending to where I feel like we're in a GM situation. Okay, well, we'll negotiate or we won't.
Right.
And that's it. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a horrendous headache, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think
Right.
anybody's here saying it's bad or anything. It's just
No,
it's
I'm
just
not.
it's just an issue that's going to come up, and like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I
Bad
think
if you're a
it's-
coach. I mean, it's
Bad
bad
if
from
you're
a
a
coach's
coach.
perspective,
yeah.
but they get
I
paid a lot of money
guess.
to handle these situations.
Well, but is it bad if you just adjust to it? If that just becomes a way of life?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's just a big adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think if Casey is testing and wants to come back, I think they would have to take him back.
Yeah. So do I. That's at the end of the day. And he,
Yeah, they have to because they don't have the guys to replace him. Like, yeah, Casey has the leverage in more than one way here.
exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, you're speculating on what Casey's thinking to some degree, but at the
Right.
same time, like you can look at the roster and see why he would think he has a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he does have. It's not like he's not like he's amassed great statistics. I disagree with a little bit what you said, Baz, when you said Casey Rogers has proved everything. He's only has 1 start and 2 sacks. I mean, he's proved he can play at this level. But he
That's
has a
what I
lot
meant.
more-
Yeah, he's proven
Yeah.
he can play at the Power 5 level. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has a lot more to prove. But yeah, it looks like he'll probably be doing it elsewhere.
Speaking of guys who have proven they can play at the Power 5 level, but have perhaps more to prove, Nebraska is hosting a transfer portal defensive lineman this weekend on a visit. Devin Drew has played the last 2 years at Texas Tech. He's played in all 23 games that the Red Raiders have played. Like Casey Rogers, he's been a regular, but a role player to some degree. He's got 55 tackles over the last 2 years, 1 tackle for loss, I think. He's 6'2" and 280. He's from around here, actually. He's a Kansas City guy who played at Iowa Western before he went to Texas Tech. So no rest on the roster turnover front, like we were talking about pick up rosters. Devin Drew in town this weekend for a visit. Obviously, Nebraska feels like it's still in the mix with Sean Mathis. Mathis visiting Texas this weekend said relatively recently that he's going to decide at the end of April. So that, I mean, don't know for sure. That feels like a Longhorns versus Huskers situation for his services. So that's 2 that we know of. I mean, categorically with Sean Mathis and Devin Drew in terms of defensive line candidates in the portal for Nebraska. There's actually been a bunch that have entered the portal in recent days. And there, as we were talking about with the May 1 deadline, I mean, I just honestly think there's going to be a giant bum rush to the portal this coming week.
You guys have a good handle. Maybe a better handle than me. I was just looking at Mark Schlabach is way too early, top 25 last night. And I would say to Nebraska fans, if you think this Nebraska discussion is somehow unique, it's not even close to unique. Look at Michigan State. Well, we all know about that story last year, right? They added 20 plus players from the portal, and they got contributions from several critical contributions. Look at Michigan State again. Look at across college football. If you read Schlabach's capsules of these top 25 teams, most of it is this team has added 7 guys who they figure will start. Michigan State, once again, if you look at what they're doing right now, they have 6 or 7 guys from the portal who will probably be starting for them again. I mean, way too early top 25s have taken on new meaning. I mean, it's really interesting. You really got to do your homework. Schlabach, by the way, did a great job of injecting the portal transitions into the equation. And it is really striking to read it because virtually every team not named Iowa in the top 25 has it's significant portal activity. It's amazing, really. Sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah,
No, that's fine. I mean,
let's just call up
Alabama
Schlabach and have
had
him come on the podcast, Sip.
Yeah.
The Mark Schlabach podcast.
Yeah, it was good though. It is amazing. Like what Lincoln Riley did at USC, what Brent Venables did at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's roster was decimated when Lincoln Riley left. Venables refortified it really well with the transfer portal. Like,
yeah, they went from a team that was like,
they
they
were
were 11
11
for a while.
and
They were
2.
going to be a disaster, and now they're like, oh, okay.
No, they brought in dudes,
Yeah.
I mean, Dylan Gabriel's the main one, the quarterback, but they brought in a corner from Wyoming. They got a running back out of the portal, bunch of guys. And now they're, probably a top 15 type team.
Yeah. Speaking of portal, should we talk a little basketball portaling?
Do it.
Yes. Portal.
It's just it's Transfer Portal Friday on the Life in the Red podcast.
The Nebraska men's basketball program, coached by Fred Hoiberg, dipped into the transfer portal yesterday, picked up a transfer forward from Alabama, Jawan Gary, 6'6", 220, kind of an uber athletic, bouncy, hard playing type. Looks like a guy that's going to come in and play a bunch right away. Started 16 games for an Alabama team that was at one point ranked in the top 10 during the season. And I ended up losing to Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament early on, but kind of a piece Nebraska really needed. They needed an athletic wing that could defend. The shooting is a question mark, but they're not bringing him in because they want him to shoot. They need a guy with length who can defend, who can run the floor, who can do all those sorts of things. So an interesting pickup for Nebraska. It maybe kind of gives you a hint about what Lat Mayen is probably going to do at some point here, because Adden Gary puts them one over the 13 scholarship limit. You've got to be down to 13, I think, by the beginning of June. And we're still waiting on decisions from Lat Mayen and Trey McGowan. So probably gives you an idea of the direction things are going with Lat, even though he hasn't officially announced it yet. So, yeah, an interesting pickup. A guy that has a lot of confidence. If you read the quotes out there talking about the Big Ten hasn't seen anything like me and this and that and the other thing, he doesn't lack for confidence. And he sounds like a guy with a really high motor. So I think it's an intriguing pickup for Nebraska, even though it kind of remains to be seen how he's going to fit into everything.
It's really intriguing for Fred Hoiberg to recruit a player who now he shoots 51% from the field overall. That's good. That's excellent. He shoots 22% from the 3-point strike, or at least he did last year.
9 for 41.
It's a different kind of. I think Fred Hoiberg is trending toward a different approach.
Yeah.
As you were there the other day when he talked about having Blaise Keita, 6'10", 6'11", Blaise Keita on the floor with Derek Walker simultaneously. Okay, now the picture now when you bring in this player, I don't think you could have those three on the floor together in Fred's current system, right?
Not enough shooting. Yeah, with those three.
Right. I mean, Fred wants 4 shooters out there generally, right?
Yeah. But you're right. Like, it signals a change, right? Like this is a Big Ten, like a traditional Big Ten type body they're bringing in. Big, strong, physical, maybe not going to shoot it, but he's going to battle you like crazy on defense. And they'll get him slash into the bucket, cut into the bucket. He can clean up around the glass a little bit. Like it kind of signals a change in the type of player Nebraska is looking for this offseason. You can even say the same about Sam Griesel a little bit. A bigger guard, 6'6", is physical, can post up, can take other guards down in the paint and score over them. It's not going to look the same. And that's not to say that Fred Hoiberg is not going to try and play fast and spread the floor at times and things like that, but it's going to look different for sure. It's going to be a different style than what we've seen, like you said, with the 5-out or the 4-around-1 or whatever you want to call it. It's going to look different. There's probably going to be, 2 bigs on the floor. They're going to be able to put really big lineups out there at times if they want to counter, Purdue or Illinois.
Because Griesel is what?
He's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
Ramel Lloyd is what?
About 6'4", 6'5" in there.
Yeah. So
big
you're
guys.
talking, yeah.
He is 6'10", Denham Dawson 6'5", Derek Walker 6'8". CJ Welch all of a sudden is one of your shorter guys, 6'2", 6'3", Excuse me. So it's almost like football a little bit. Nebraska's getting bigger, they're getting longer. Now, does that translate? We'll see. You're talking about a team that's won 24 games the last 3 years in the Big Ten, so they got a long ways to go. But it kind of signals to you that these changes we've heard about with Fred Hoiberg coming back, this is clearly a big part of it. They're going to look different, very different from a physical standpoint. I think next year they're going to look different in the way they play defense next year with Adam Howard come on as an assistant coach. And to run the system that Adam Howard wants to run, you need length and you need athleticism. If you're going to be playing matchup zone and those sorts of things, you need guys like Jawan Gary. So yeah, a guy that I think is going to come in and play a lot of minutes for Nebraska right away.
It begs what people, when they listen to you, people are going to say, well, especially, I mean, I can be an asshole.
No.
What?
Look at the shot.
I would say, if I was really just dead honest with Fred, I'd say Fred, and maybe he's listening. It'd be wonderful if he is. I mean, did you drop out of this outer space and land in America and say, oh, this Big Ten, very interesting, big conference, a lot of bigs, play tough defense. I don't know if I can win with, of just a bunch of shooters. I don't know if I'm just going to be able to outscore everybody and play a 6'8" center. I don't. Why did it take 3 years? Is my
Sounds
question.
a lot like the football conversation.
It
about the
sure
Big Ten.
does. Now, Frost, to his credit, in Indy, Baz was there last year, where he virtually acknowledged it.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a tough. We've had a tough time adjusting to the Big Ten. We've had to make some adjustments. And I'd say the same thing. Well, what, were you not aware of the Big Ten? I mean, is this something you just didn't? Is this just dawning on you now? I mean, most people understood the way the Big Ten operates.
You make an excellent argument, Sip, and I agree with you. But I'll also point to Michigan State, who played a 6'8" center all year, and it's generally not had a huge guy in the middle and plays with pace and tempo. Now they don't shoot it great. They're not
Right.
You don't think Michigan State is a 3-point shooting team, but that's traditionally been a team at the top of the league that has played. They don't have a 7.
They play tempo for sure.
They play tempo for sure, and they play tough. I mean, let's get down.
And they rebound the hell out of it and play defense too. That's the thing. So
the gist of it is that Michigan State plays tough. They play a little different style, but they play tough. And excuse me, goodness, you couldn't always say that about Nebraska. It was more of a finesse style. You want to shoot over the top of you, those sorts of things. And I think what this signals, you can still play that way with a shorter, with a quote unquote smaller roster, but you better be real darn tough if you're going to do it. And Michigan State is really darn tough, really darn physical.
Okay.
So this is kind of a change.
I would counter that the Michigan State comparison with did Fred Hoiberg emphasize defense? And I would say
no, he didn't.
That's not his deal.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to play like that, you have to be really, really tough. You have to defend, you have to rebound, you have to get second chance points. Those are things Nebraska has not done at a consistent enough level in Fred's 3 years. So It's going to be, I'm interested to talk to Fred, when we get closer to the season, see if he says something similar to what Scott Frost said about we thought we could make our style work and it hasn't. Now we're making changes. What's the toughness component of it going to look like when it comes time for that? So yeah, it's adding a guy like Jawan Gary's a fascinating add. And
It is.
It signals, I think, a change in direction for where Nebraska's going to try and go.
Oh yeah, just for the record, I like the way this is trending. I just think it should have happened sooner.
Yeah,
I like it. I like the addition of Greasel. I like this addition, the kid from Alabama. It all makes sense to me. When you were there, when Fred talked about having Blaze Keita and Derek Walker on the floor at the same time, it really piqued my interest. I thought that's okay. When he said it, I immediately thought, okay, this is a good sign because this is what the Big Ten is.
Yeah.
And Walker can play. Walker can play. But I've always said to you, Baz, I don't think he's a center. I think he's a power forward. Yeah. And now that's what you're looking at. I don't think he was a center. Played it pretty well. Numbers were great, but he's better off at a power forward spot.
You look at the roster, you can kind of see it, right? Like CJ Wilcher's got some toughness to him and is going to play hard, and he can shoot it. You look at some of the guard, like if Trey McGowan decides to come back, for example, tough, physical. You look at Karan McPherson, who redshirted last year, kid out of New York City, tough. Raymel Lloyd coming in this freshman class, tough, played at a high level, prep program. The toughness level, I think, is going to go up quite a bit with this team. And that's, that's a pretty good place to start. They may not shoot it as well, but if you're tougher and you can defend a little better, they're going to give yourself a lot more chances than maybe you have in the past. Now, look, again, we're going to have to see what this all looks like when, November gets here. But
yeah, and if people think I'm being unreasonable, they're 9-50 in the Big Ten. Okay. They're 9-50. Yeah. And if I died and came back on earth as a coach, I would hope to God my record is never 9-50, because what you learn is that people just pick you apart and you have no recourse. There's a coach that's 9-50 he can't defend himself. And that's creates ugly podcasts sometimes.
No, you're right. It's in April. There could be some more activity. Like I said, we're still waiting on decisions from Lat Mann and Trey McGowan's. The addition of Jawan Gary tells you one of those two is probably gone, and it's probably Lat, who's probably gonna move on to a professional career overseas somewhere, perhaps back at home in Australia. The big one now is Trey McGowan. If he decides to come back, now all of a sudden you've got a full roster and you've got several guys who played big minutes for it last year. If he leaves, now what do you go get? Do you try and find another guard? Do you try and find a scoring wing? Do you try and find another point guard type player? So still some questions to be answered with Trey McGowan's decision. I'm sure they'd rather get that figured out sooner rather than later. So it's still some things to watch for Nebraska basketball, but at the same time, it's been a pretty quiet offseason compared to what it's been, the last 3 years. You replace one assistant coach. You've brought in 2 players from the portal. You've had some guys transfer out, most notably Eduardo Andre, but other than that, guys that didn't really play a whole lot for you. Pretty standard attrition is what you'd see, in most programs. So this isn't going to be a complete and total roster reset by any means. They're going to have some continuity, and if you get Trey McGowan's back, you're going to have a certain level of toughness that maybe you haven't had in the past. So interesting to watch.
Yes.
All right.
What else is going on in the world?
Baseball, little Husker baseball. How about
volleyball spring match on Saturday in Grand Island?
That's right.
Dipple, you got any thoughts on that? No? Okay.
Caitlin Howard is a thought I have. I'd like to see how that component looks.
Yeah.
Did I say the name right?
Caitlin Horde?
What, Horde?
Horde.
Yeah, it's not like Brock Heward.
Caitlin Howard, the sister of quarterback Brock Howard.
And they're not. You're going to have a new setter.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is interesting. Nebraska baseball meantime goes to Indiana.
Yeah.
Will Bolt with one of the quotes of the year so far. He literally said, "We're playing for our lives in every way." They have 15 Big 15 Big Ten games left. And Will Bolt's pulling out that we're playing for our lives in every way right now. And what he means by that is they're not getting an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. They've lost 21 games. The RPI is down in the 180s right now. They're not getting an at-large bid. They've got to win the Big Ten tournament. And to win the Big Ten tournament, you have to qualify for the Big Ten tournament. The top 8 teams in the league go. Nebraska currently tied for 6th right now with Northwestern. They're 4-5 in the league. But you start looking at the numbers. Nebraska's 2 games out of 4th and 3 games out of 3rd. They're not far away from being, a top 3 or 4 team in this league. And they're also not far away from being at the basement either. Minnesota's 1-8 in the league, and they're 2 games out of the top 8 right now. It's been if we're going to be frank about it, it's been a bad year for the Big Ten. It's a bad conference this year. They're 10th in the RPI. You've got Rutgers, who's having a great year, and all credit to Rutgers. They're a top 30 RPI team. They're the only top 30 RPI team in the league right now. Rutgers. Maryland's good. I don't know how great they are. They're good. Outside of that, 3 through 13, it could end up anywhere right now. And so Nebraska's playing for their lives. Yes. They're also going to be playing teams that they can beat every single weekend, or that could beat them every single weekend. And it starts with Indiana this weekend. Indiana's only 2-7 in the conference. And you think of the way Indiana's played in the Big Ten the last 10 years, whatever you want to look at. They've been a power in the league, but they've had to replace some key guys. They're really struggling. This is a chance for Nebraska to maybe kind of do what they did at Ohio State, go up and build, you would hope, build a little momentum and kind of kick off the second half of your season on the right foot here. But Nebraska's going to have some opportunities to maybe make something happen here.
One Big Ten team in the top 30 of the RPI.
Yeah, you go. I'm going to pull up the numbers here because I want to make sure I have them right. Nebraska, the Big Ten's RPI. Big Ten is generally a top, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 RPI team nationally. But you look at them this year. Here's who the Big Ten's behind in the RPI right now: SEC, ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, of course. West Coast Conference, Missouri Valley Conference, Sun Belt Conference, Conference USA, American Athletic Conference. Those are conferences the Big Ten is behind right now in the RPI. And again, you look at the numbers, and it's been a bad year for the league. It's fascinating to look at. The teams that you consider powers just have not been great. Yeah, Rutgers is currently oh, excuse me. I had it wrong. Maryland's 24th in the RPI. There's your top RPI.
Okay.
Rutgers is 49th. That's the next.
Ooh.
Rutgers is 31-7, 11-1 in the Big Ten, and they're 49th in the RPI.
Like winning games in the Big Ten just does you almost no good RPI wise.
Almost hurts you more than it helps you. Yeah.
Oh God!
Yeah,
do we have to play? Do we have to play this weekend? We're worried about our RPI.
Yeah. Can we skip? There are.
We rain this one out.
Yeah. There are 4 Big Ten teams in the top 70 of the RPI right now, and you generally want to be in the top 45 to 60 to feel pretty good about an at-large bid. So there's exactly 2 teams right now who probably feel good about an at-large bid out of 13 in the Big Ten. So then you go down towards the bottom. Nebraska is 182. Indiana's 129. Purdue's 140. Northwestern 127. You've got what? 8 teams with an RPI outside the top 100 right now, outside the top 120 right now. It's not good. Iowa's 75th and they're 4th in the conference. It's just there's not a lot of quality wins out there. So for Nebraska, you've got to win enough to get into the Big Ten tournament. When you get there, you got to make a run because that's your only shot at the postseason right now.
Yeah. It doesn't help you to play necessarily. Like you could have a coach that says, you know what, coach, I don't know what the hell happened. Our sprinklers just came on and we couldn't turn them off.
Yeah, sorry. We've got 8 inches of water on the field. We can't.
I don't know what to tell you.
We can't turn them off. What, did you unplug it? No, we can't unplug it. We got to let them run.
I heard a really disturbing rumor that your charter plane here this weekend has mechanical issues. I don't think you should get on the plane.
I wouldn't get on that plane. I had a vision.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
my friend's a pilot.
I had a vision.
My friend's a pilot. He says don't do it.
Yeah. You ever heard of Leonard Skinner? You know what happened to Leonard Skinner, coach? Don't get on that plane. Don't do it. Don't get on that plane. That's all.
We're
I'm
It's
saying.
supposed to
survivors.
rain next week. I think maybe we should just look forward.
Anyway, the point is the Big Ten stinks this year, and Nebraska's got to win as many of the games as they have left to get into the Big Ten tournament. And that's what it comes down to. So
Indiana this weekend. So that's just a standard Friday, Saturday,
that's
Sunday.
at Bart Kaufman Field, 6 p.m. tonight, first pitch, then single game Saturday, single game Sunday. Let's pull up the schedule here. Actually, let's
The
look at
schedule.
the schedule. Yeah, they're at Indiana this weekend. Little midweeker with Kansas State on Tuesday in Lincoln. Then you get Iowa at home. Iowa and Illinois are the best two teams left on Nebraska's schedule right now. You play Minnesota, who's terrible, and you play Michigan State, who barely even realizes they have a baseball program.
Wow, Bass, easy.
They got lights on their field like 4 years ago. Like it's ridiculous. But look, Nebraska, it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see Nebraska rip off like an 8-2 stretch here and get right back in it and start feeling pretty good.
I would be surprised by that, actually. But I understand where you're coming.
Yes. I mean, it would be surprising at the same time, considering who they're playing. Maybe it wouldn't be a huge surprise. They still got to go out and do it. But
Wow,
so yeah,
that was a
there you go.
podcast.
That was a podcast. Thanks,
That was a
guys. That was what? That was 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah.
That's more than we thought we were going to give you. So you're welcome. We keep expectations low, then we over deliver. That's how we
You're
like to
welcome.
do things at the Journal Star. So you're welcome for that. We will have more for you guys next week. And until then, we'll talk to you soon.